is that it stores there. Yet to see how much money we're going to make from it, but going to be interesting. It definitely costs less on fertilizer, although for things like sunflowers, and I'm expecting canola, it doesn't use nearly as much fertilizer as corn and other cereals do. Okay, unload. Sorry, sometimes talking and doing stuff that's not harvesting can be a challenge. Okay, 3,600, that's okay. It's income. Okay, well, I'll grab another load, unload it here, and I think we'll call it a day. I will be back, as I said, next weekend. We're going to cut it short. That's a fair comment, Timmy. Welcome to the stream. I tend to start on 6 days, and I mean this farm is big and mature, so and up until now I've needed all 6 days. The other thing to consider is animals eat less per day, but you still have to do things with them more often the more days you have. I haven't gone over a 9-day season ever. But my last 9-day season I was playing at least ×5. I can't remember, I thought Realismus at one time suggested a 9-day seasons at ×5. They do suggest a ×5 playthrough. But yeah, you can make things more difficult or less difficult by switching A, the game speed, and B, the length of the season. As I said, I tend to like 6. 6 is a good thing. That, as I said, it can be a challenge depending on your geo that you're running. I mean, going with something like the Scottish geo, it doesn't get warm enough to plant until late spring. And so if you're only playing 3-day seasons, you've effectively got 1 day to plant all your fields. If you're playing on a 9-day season, then obviously you've got 3 days to plant, but you've still got the other 6 to plough and cultivate and put down manure and all that sort of thing. So it's not a complete disaster. It's just that you've got 1/3 of your spring season to plant. Now, and also with the Scottish geo, you can't plant corn or soybeans or sugarcane. So most of the crops you can plant can't be planted in the summer anyway. And then it's going to get colder earlier in the fall, which means you want to get all of your harvesting done very, very early. Whereas if you play a hot location geo, you might not have so much difficulty. I mean, you play something like a Midwest geo, you can pretty much be planting from the beginning of spring, and so the limitations are far less. But again, it depends on how much of a challenge do you want. Do you want to be limited to 1 day of planting by playing 3-day season in a Scottish geo? you're going to want equipment that is very very beneficial to your use. So either widen equipment, and if you can't fit wide equipment through UK farm gates, then that's a limit as well. I mean, we're using big equipment here. This tractor's just shy of 400 horsepower. We do have, I think the seeder is about 9 to 12 meters. But I can't go any bigger than that because I won't be able to drive into most of the fields. So the only way to speed up the amount of planting I can do is to buy more seeders and more tractors and use more workers. So it is what it is. Okay. Challenge on this farm, of course, is the 500 sheep we currently have. That will be about 1,000 come next spring. There's a lot of feeding involved. Yeah, and like I said, it depends on your weather. If you're playing a classical UK or Central European geo, you're going to have a lot of rain in the fall, and that times 5 can be a real challenge at times. Just because, oh, it's raining this morning. I mean, playing this one, I had a couple of years ago, I need to make hay, and so I cut the grass, I tedded it, and then playing seasons, you've got to wait time for the hay to dry. So I'm doing that, and it's sort of, it's not going to be dry until tomorrow morning. And it's going to rain tomorrow at midday, so I'm going to have to get up really early in the morning just so I can start collecting the hay. Well, it turned out that I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I took all the equipment out to the field, and it was still semi-dry grass. So I said, okay, well, we have to wait for the time to pass. And the time passed, and it turned into hay at 9 o'clock. So I thought, I still got 3 hours to collect everything, and 5 after 9 it starts raining, which of course starts decaying the grass, or decaying the hay. And it's sort of, oh, seriously. So, big challenge there. I did end up making sufficient amounts of hay to feed my sheep, but I would have liked to have a little bit more just to be on the safe side, because my sheep are eating a lot of hay. Okay, back again. Yeah, I tend to. I mean, part of the sort of the realism I try for is when I pick a map, I look at where the map is supposedly based. Now, some, like this one, it's based. I'm not going to look, but I sort of Somerset area in the UK, which is at the top of the Bristol Channel, just east of Wales and Cornwall, or Devon. And so the weather there is fairly mild, but I start off by looking at where's the map based, what do they grow there? So sheep are fairly popular, cows to a certain extent, yes. I don't think pigs are particularly popular in that area, but they're not insignificant. And then a lot of the growth is going to be cereals. In the UK, they can grow corn in that area, so they tend to. You go up to somewhere like Scotland, and you can't grow corn there. And a couple of years ago, I did read that there were 2 farms in Scotland that were growing corn, and at the time I was playing Lawfolds on a stream, and so I justified growing corn because there are 2 farms in Scotland that are growing corn, but it was a special hybrid corn, and it wasn't for human consumption, it was animal feed, and that was okay because I figured, okay, I can now do pigs on the farm because I hadn't got the pig breeding achievement done, and we'll just grow corn and feed the pigs with the corn. So I could grow corn on this farm if I chose to. It's realistic to do so. Obviously sugarcane, not so much. I'm not sure so much about potatoes or sugar beets either, but I'm growing that purely from a gaming aspect of it's what if it rains in the fall, then I'll be able to harvest at least 2 of my fields and get some crop in and make some money at the end of the year. Not that making money has turned out to be very much of a problem at all. But yeah, as I said, I tend to look at what is grown in the area I'm doing. Midwest USA, okay, I'm going to be pretty much growing soybeans and corn. So my farm will mostly be catering to that. I may grow wheat, but going out into sugar beets and potatoes, probably not so much. Obviously, if I was doing an Iowa farm or something more north of Midwest, then I would probably consider doing potatoes because that's a crop for that area. So having picked the farm and having picked the crops I'm going to be planting, I then look at what geos are available. So like I said, if I'm doing an Ohio farm, then, well, there's a Midwest geo, there's, I think there's a New England geo, which isn't quite realistic. Although if I'm doing a Pennsylvania farm, I'm kind of splitting the difference. So if I'm West Pennsylvania, I can justify a Midwest. If I'm East Pennsylvania, I could justify using the New England geo. And then working within that. The geos provide a little bit more, I guess, realism for the weather of the area the map is supposedly situated. But then you get some people that just produce a map and say, this is a map that's kind of, France. France is big. North France, South France, East France, West France. They're not really specific, and so okay, it's France. France has a wider range of weather, so I could say, okay, it's in France, I'm going to pick Normandy, I'm going to pick a more southern, and the guys who are creating the geos are creating, there's a lot of geos that could technically be French, so I'm going to pick a Belgian geo and claim that my French farm is close to the border of Belgium. And each geo you pick, you could have a completely different experience playing, say, the Old Stream Farm, which is a French map, playing it with Belgian Geo, and then restarting and playing it with a Normandy Geo, and then restarting and playing it with a Spanish Geo, because it'll affect, different effect of weather and crops that you can grow and all sorts of things like that. Pick out more of these than I thought there was. And for my personal farms, I do switch around a lot. I'll play a farm with a goal in mind, and then either get bored or complete the goal, and then move on to a different map. But this Saturday stream is a long-term thing. We've been playing this since pretty much seasons came out for Farm Sim 19. And so that was well past, prior to this we were playing Lawfolds on Farm Sim 17, so we went almost a year still playing Farm Sim 17 on the Saturday stream. And I kind of envisage playing this farm into spring of next year, even though Farm Sim 22 comes out in at the end of this year. Now, I don't have any hard or fast dates, but probably November, December sort of time. Now, Seasons is going to be a part of Farm Sim 22, although not the seasons we're playing with today. Realismus had nothing to do with Farm Sim 22 implementation of Seasons, so it's Giant's imagining of Seasons. But I also want a map that I feel comfortable with. Reason I picked this map, in spite of the fact it's been around at least since Farm Sim 17, I don't know if it was available in 15 because I didn't play 15. I never played this map in Farm Sim 17. So while I am somewhat familiar with it, because watching other people's YouTube channels, I am not, I'm not personally experienced with it. It's not a map I played, so I don't mind putting significant number of hours into it. I don't know how many hours I put into the base version, but we're already up to 84 on the farming agency version. And our primary goal on this one is to fill up the sheep fields. So we do need to be buying, I think it's field 6. Nope, field 7. I need to buy field 7 because you can put sheep in that, and we will be expanding our sheep flocks into that field as well. That was our stated goal. Unfortunately, basically the reason we're on the farming agency version of this map, my SSD completely failed and I lost everything. So the beginning of this game year, I've restored as many mods as I could find. So there were some mods that were supplied on sites that are no longer in existence. So I basically lost those mods. So I did the best I could. For the most part, we have all the equipment we had on the original map. I made sure that I had all of the fields that we originally had. Didn't buy any extra ones. And then deleted all of the cheat-in money to take us back down to what we had before. I think the hard drive failure basically happened during winter, and I hadn't sold any of the crops, so And also I didn't have a record of how much money I had or how much grains I had in storage. So apart from land and equipment, this playthrough started beginning of this game year without the money. But rather fortuitously, we discovered that there are far more contracts on the farming agency version of the map, so I haven't been short of contracts, and they pay quite well. So, for example, where is it? Field 19 was a contractable field on the original map. Field 39 was. And there might have been one or two others, mostly 16, 15, 11, 12, 14, 38 grass fields, and 45 around the back of the shop. We did that one once. But now I've done multiple contracts in 47, multiple contracts in 42, multiple contracts in 40 and 41, and this field here, 17, which is absolutely huge. I don't own it, so it's not going to tell. Oh, it will tell me if I do lands. Field 17, 25 hectares, whatever that works out in acres, and pays an absolute ton of money for doing a contract in it. So whenever we've needed to get additional equipment or mess around with equipment, which we needed to do when we were testing out clover, I haven't been short of cash. I was expecting. I didn't buy the mowers that we had when the hard drive crashed, because I didn't know if they'd work for clover. I didn't buy the balers or anything like that. It's ended up we've got the same baler as we had, but I had to buy a square bale wrapper, and the reason was that the Anderson X tractor, which we had been using, doesn't wrap clover bales, so that was rather unfortunate. And then I did try wrapping with the Vicon fast baler, and it worked, but the baler would only run at 4 miles an hour on clover. It ran at normal speed on grass, but for clover and wrapping, it would only pick up clover at 4 miles an hour. So yeah, I'm not doing that. But the big square class baler that we're running, which we had before, that bales at the normal 9 miles an hour, 11 miles an hour, whatever it is. But I was I cut down the money to about 50,000. And I was kind of expecting to have to cheat a little bit of money in just to cover the mowing equipment that we had and I hadn't restored. And I earned so much money from fertilizing contracts and ploughing contracts and cultivating contracts that it was just, okay, don't need to cheat the money, and we'll just use the profits from the contracts. And then this playthrough's turned into I still need the contract achievement. So I want to get 100 contracts done by the end of this, the eventual end of this playthrough. And that then leaves me, I think it leaves me just the cow and pig breeding achievements, which I'll probably end up doing on one of my personal playthroughs, just so I can play. I can claim, I'm done with Farm Sim 19. All achievements have been achieved. I got 17 done eventually, although I think Farm Sim 19 had come out a couple of weeks prior, because I just couldn't be bothered with pigs. I didn't understand pigs. And it was all a case of, yeah, feed them and sell them, and feeding them takes a lot of preparation. Plus you have to do either potatoes or sugar beets, and that can be a pain. Especially storage of them. Our first year on this farm, we harvested 1.5 million litres of sugar beets and stuck them out behind the farmhouse. There's a sort of dry goods storage area there, and so we had this massive pile of sugar beets just laying loose. It took me untold numbers of hours just shipping them down to the store at the point where the sale price was good. Where are we up to? This will be 13 and 14. There we go. Yeah, I do have an auto-load bale trailer as well. I prefer using this for field pickup. The auto-load trailer is actually a road trailer, so I'll use it for shipping bales to the store or to the BGA. And of course the justification is, well, I just get a worker to load it up for me, and then I'll come down and drive it to the store while I'm doing something else. But yeah, workers don't load bale trailers for you. So. And these trailers are quite good. The in-game, what is it? The Arcusin bale pickup trailer, because it stacks vertically. It's not particularly useful for farms like this, where the sheds won't take a 14 stack of, or 7 stack of bales, because this unloads in a row. Very happy the Addison DLC came out when it did. I think for the most part, the expansions or the DLC that Giants has given us this time round has a lot of really nice stuff. We've got these bale collectors which unload horizontally, so you don't need a big clearance like you do with the stackers. We got more bale, combo bale wrappers, but we got those for 17, so that's not as significant. But the fast baler that they did with the Kverneland Vicon DLC, that I was there. I was looking at that and saying, well, you did that for the John Deere cotton release, where I don't have to stop the harvester, I can just keep driving, because it has a sort of a preload chamber and the finishing chamber. So while the finishing chamber's emptying, the preload can start collecting. And it was about that time I was looking up baling videos on YouTube and discovered that's actually a thing for grass straw balers.